Hello, this is a Disorderly Wrestling Review. My name is Brian. You can just call me Def. And that... Where's my button? Where's my button? It was the ROH G1 Supercard. I have so many mixed feelings about this show. I don't really know how to properly evaluate it. This was the big card. This was the Madison Square Garden event. The first event... non-WWE event to sell out at 20,000 people since WCW almost 20 years ago. So the crowd here is massive. This is a huge deal for independent wrestling. For anything that's not WWE, this card had a huge impact on how the rest of the industry views non-WWE. To give the show a grade, I would probably go with a B. Like, it was an enjoyable show, but there were some issues to it. To break it down more specifically, the Ring of Honor side is probably a C, and then the New Japan side is an A. So if you average them together, as it is a joint show, you probably get about a B. And it's a long card. Like, this thing goes, over 4 hours. So similar to WrestleMania, strap yourselves in. The pre-show has the Honor Rumble, which is a Royal Rumble knockoff. The difference here, this time around, is you get all of the New Japan talent. You get, Minoru Suzuki and Tomohiro Ishii, and you get Yo and Sho, and you get all of the other cast that didn't make the rest of the main card. They got at least included in the Rumble, so that's good for them. And then there was some other fucking tag match I don't particularly care for. Some throwaway 6-man. I legit couldn't tell you. I didn't see the fucking first half of the pre-show. But the ROH Rumble was really long. Like, it's a full proper, Royal Rumble clone. It went almost an hour. It was fine. It's not great, but it's not like the worst sort of over-the-top battle royal I've seen. The finish was rough, to say the least. Coming in at, number 30, one of the last spots to make the entrance was the great fucking Muda. It's one of those guys, this dude should have retired, a decade ago. He's got, Undertaker syndrome going on, where he keeps showing up, and every time he shows up, you're still happy to see him, Also, towards the end of the match, you had Jushin Liger as well. And the finish came down to where the last two guys in the ring was Great Muta and Jushin Liger. And as they starting to really get into it, Kenny fucking King slides in from under the ring because he didn't go out over the top rope. Because we've seen this exact same fucking booking literally half a dozen times this year across the various companies. Kenny King tosses the two of them, and he is your winner of your ROH Rumble. And at least with this, there is a reward. There's a prize at the end. There's a title shot of some sort. So Kenny King is probably going to face the ROH champion at whoever wins later tonight in their ladder match. I mean, that's good for him. I like Kenny King. I really do. I just hate the booking for this, because it's so fucking stupid. It's been done way, way too much. And you're ruining a face-off between Liger and Muta for this. What are you doing, ROH? Why would you bother to get these two legends in your Rumble if you're just going to waste it like that? And this is a trend you will see throughout the entire show with ROH. Yeah. The show kicks off proper with your TV champion Jeff Cobb versus the never champion Will Ospreay. And this is your very, very standard, speed versus brawn matchup. Jeff Cobb is using his strength and his physical abilities to try and put down the much quicker and much more technical Will Ospreay. And Ospreay has been incredible. Since he switched to this darker gimmick, there's a lot less of the standard high-flying and flippy stuff, but he's augmented it with more brutal-looking, martial styles. A lot more striking and techniques. And he's got that one finish where it's just like a diving like elbow to the side of someone's face. It looks very, very fucking brutal. The match itself was really, really good. As you expect, Jeff Cobb is phenomenal, and Will Ospreay had a breakout year last year, and I only see more magic from him going forward as he has this more aggressive style, this safer style. I think he can really make this work. So I'm excited to see where this goes. As far as the finish, Jeff Cobb just basically murders Will Ospreay. Like, I'm trying to think of a nicer way to describe this spot, but if you've seen Jeff Cobb's finisher, like this really weird, like tilting, flipping like scoop slam, it looks fucking brutal, and you might as well have counted to 100 once he hit it. It was over. Jeff Cobb is now television and never openweight champion. Like, most of the title matches on this are dual title matches, so take that for what it's worth. After that, we go to Roosh versus Dalton Castle. This match ends in like 2 minutes. Like, not even 2 minutes. Like, the entire affair, because there is a bit of, I say 2 minutes, but the bell itself only went in like 15 seconds, something like that. As they get into the ring, the two of them stare down each other, but the boys are still there with Dalton Castle. And it takes a while. Once one of them tries to get out of the ring, he drops his feather duster. So the ref goes to, or Dalton picks up and tries to hand it to him. Once he turns around, he immediately gets shotgun drop kicked into the corner. Then Rush hits his finish and gets the pinfall. What the fuck? just destroys Dalton Castle. And I like Dalton Castle as a character. He just gets murdered in this outing. After the match, the boys are trying to cheer him up, like they offer to be the throne or something to, like, help, you know, because one of them effectively cost him the match. If he wasn't distracted trying to clear the ring, he wouldn't have been fucking drop kicked in the face. So as they're trying to cheer him up, eventually Dalton just snaps and attacks them. Why? Like, if you're not familiar with the story here, the boys are everything to Dalton Castle. Like, more than the titles, more than any of the other things, he's always, like, prized these two above of almost everything. And he just snaps and tears into both of them. And just murders them. Hits his bangerang finisher, and it's, ugh. Like, I'm not surprised if they're looking for a change of gimmick for Dalton Castle, because he's been doing this for a little while. But I don't know. I don't know how to feel about that. It'll be interesting to see what they do with it. After this effectively a squash match, it gets to the Women of Honor as Mayu Watnani, I butcher the goddamn name of this poor girl, versus Kelly Klein. And this feels like something you'd see on TV, on ROH TV, on SmackDown. It's a decent match, but it's not great. There's not a whole lot of standout moments for it. I love Iwatani's outfit. I think it looks fantastic. And Kelly Klein is, she's okay. She's got, like, the baby face hook to her. Like, people really, really like her. I just figure she's someone who's better at the chase than she is as the figurehead. Apparently they disagree, because, I mean, this match is relatively, for the show anyways, it was one of the shorter matches of the night. Maybe it went 10 minutes, I'm not sure. And Kelly Klein wins. I mean, Watnani is like barely a champion. She's only had it for a few months, and then Kelly Klein wins. And okay, I get it. You want to get it back on like a contracted wrestler, not someone who's effectively borrowed from Stardom from a partnership. So I understand that's a nice feel-good moment for Kelly Klein, if nothing else. But Watanabe's better, just straight up, you know. One of the best fucking Jushi performers currently in the world, and then Kelly Klein is just a decent talent. So it's like you're making a step down there. Then after that, this gets to what I mentioned earlier about ROH is what the fuck booking. The beautiful people, Angelina Love and Velvet Sky, make their way to the ring. Huh? And they sit in there, and Kelly Klein is holding the title up like she's like this proud, reigning, defending champion. She just barely fucking won the thing. And she's got the same look on her face as we all do. It's like, what the fuck are you doing here? And then there's another person, I don't even know who the hell it is, that just attacks Kelly Klein from behind, and the three of them just start mugging her. This is your champion. This is supposed to be a crowning moment for Kelly Klein. You know, regained what she had lost months ago. Just, not anymore, I guess. And they make their way to ringside, and Titantron shows the name of their new group, and Allure, I believe. I don't even know. It's stupid, because the beautiful people aren't good. Velvet Sky is decent, I suppose, but it's a stupid tag team to bring back together, and it makes no sense why they would be there tonight. Just, when you've got better women available, when you have a partnership with Stardom, you know, the fucking premier women's league in the world, you take your champion off of one of them to one of yours, which, okay, I suppose, but then you introduce the beautiful people. I want to see how this plays out to give them an opportunity, because you never know. I've seen some weird booking decisions, some weird returns that have turned out to be much better the second time around than the first time around. Boy, am I really fucking hesitant, though. After the Women of Honor, it gets to a rap break as Mega Ron comes out and does a song for Madison Square Garden. Okay. Like, I don't really know how to fucking follow that sentence up. As he's finishing, though, Bully Ray makes his entrance and tells him to get the fuck out of my ring. And when Mega Ran tries to step up to him, Bully Ray hits him with a fucking chain. It was fantastic. It's like, no, I said get the fuck out, basically. And then Bully Ray gets on the mic and says, Juice is not cleared to compete. Because he got jumped backstage, apparently. Juice isn't cleared to compete. I have a fucking street fight tonight. Who wants some? And a Flip fucking Gordon's music hits. If you're not familiar with Flip Gordon, you should be, because he's one of the best things about Ring of Honor television currently. And he's honestly one of those, I imagine he's probably jumping ship to AEW the second his contract is up. The dude is fantastic. He's got... he just oozes charisma. He's got, like, the pure babyface thing, you know, former military background to him, so the crowd loves him for that. Flip Gordon makes his entrance, and the two of them just start going ham at it. And as the match is starting to pick up in this first segment here, there is an issue as Shane Taylor and Silas Young interfere on behalf of Bully Ray. So the three of them just start stomping a mud hole into poor little Flip Gordon when the pulse hits on the Tron and out comes Lifeblood. Juice is backed up with Mark Haskins. And they've got a shopping cart. They've got like a loading tray full of all sorts of wonderful, fabulous toys. And he's like, let's make this a fucking 6-man tag match then, shall we? He just runs the fucking cart into poor Silas and he just gets ran over by this fucking loading cart of shit. And then it's your basic hardcore spot fest insane madness from this point forward. I really enjoy like these hardcore clusterfuck matches essentially where they're just trading spots with weapons and even crazier shit. You see the tables get involved and the crowd at one point is chanting, "We want Devon." It was fantastic. So I just enjoy it. I have a soft spot in my heart for Bully Ray because he's so fucking good at playing the heel. And then on the other side, you've got Flip Gordon, who is such an amazing babyface in Ring of Honor. I thought it worked really well. It went a bit long. Like, you probably could have cut, you know, I don't know how long. This match went like, what, 15 minutes, I think. You probably could have cut 3 or 4 off of that and done a better story. Or, without the rap segment in front, maybe it might not have felt quite so long, but it was a really good match. The way that the match ends is Bully Ray, before the ending, or the Bully Ray, there's the spot where Bully Ray gets split. He's standing in the corner, and 2 guys from underneath him pull his legs out and fucking rights him, splits him right down the middle, right into the fucking ring post. And you hear Bully Ray just scream at the top of his lungs, "My balls!" Like, it's fantastic. It's like, I don't have words to describe how amazing that was to watch. The finish of the match involves a table, because why wouldn't it involve a table? And Bully Ray gets isolated by the group, and Flip Gordon wins, essentially. It's a good match. It's one of those, you know, going into it, Bully Ray doesn't usually get to win the big one. It's, as a proper heel, you know, the end of the segment, the heels don't usually win, so I really liked it. Like, a lot of people aren't a huge fan of this style, and why the hell Silas Young and Haskins and, God, who was the other guy now? I can't even remember. Shane Taylor, like, why they were there? Couldn't fucking tell you. Like, the feud to this point had basically just been Bully Ray and Juice Robinson. But I really enjoyed it. So, for what it's worth, it was a really good match. Flip Gordon, great to see him back in the ring. I like Flip Gordon, and I hope they keep pushing that dude. After that, we get to the Junior Heavyweight Championship. You've got Dragon Lee, you've got Tajishi Ishimori, and you've got Bandito in a 3-way for the Junior Heavyweight Championship. I think I already mentioned that. This was short. Like, I don't know why, of all matches, they decided to cut the juniors down to like 8 minutes, but they didn't get enough time. These are guys that can go ballistic for your proper like 20-minute match at the most ridiculous of speeds. All 3 of these guys involved. Bandito's like the best fucking up-and-coming talent this side of the hemisphere. And Dragon Lee has been fantastic, and Ishimori as Bone Soldier has seen like a renaissance in the last few months of his career. Last year, essentially, the dude's been great. And this match could have been match of the night. If this had a few more minutes, if this had been slightly longer, this could have been a fantastic, crazy match. As it stood, it was just decent. It ends with Dragon Lee winning, though. I'm not entirely sure how to feel about that. And it was a relatively quick one, because normally with these Japanese styles of matches, when they're trading finishers, and it takes more than one finisher to kick out. The whole fighting spirit thing, once the title's on the line, once all the chips are played, you need to really go hard to get the finish. Dragon Lee hits it once, and that is it. Like, it's clear that this match probably got cut. Like, at some point, something went longer than it should have, and they needed to make time for it. I just cut the rap segment from before the Bully Ray thing, and you could have given it to this match. You're shortchanging some of your best talent in the world. ROH's chance to really put a shine on Bandito. Ishimori's chance to really show how much of a dastardly heel he can be as, you know, a junior heavyweight champion. Dragon Lee is your champion, which I like Ishimori better, but I don't have a problem with Dragon Lee. I think they have a lot that they can do with that. So it'll be interesting to see how New Japan handles this going forward. So I just wish it was longer. There was a lot to do here, and it didn't get the time that it needed. Speaking of matches that didn't get the time that they needed, the next match is your Unified Tag Team Championship match, as you've got the Guerrillas of Destiny, Villain Enterprises, you've got Los Ingobernables de Nippon, and the Briscoe Brothers. And I butchered the hell out of that, and I am sorry. Tama Tonga and Tanga Loa enter as the tag team champions for New Japan, and the Briscoe brothers enter as Ring of Honor champions. This is a unified match, so winner takes all in a fatal 4-way clusterfuck, essentially. And I want to stress that the Villain Enterprises has like the best entrance of the night. They do this thing to where they're resurrecting Frankenstein as PCO is up on the stage, passed out in a chair, and Brody is taking, like, it looks like jumper batteries, essentially just shocking this man repeatedly to revive him for the match, which is very typical to the revival of PCO's career. Like, this dude is 50, and he's having stellar performances for 20, 30 years now, and there's a time where he thought he would stepped away from the game finally, and he comes back recently into Villain Enterprises, and they've just been killing it. It's been fantastic to watch PCO come at it. The match itself, again, as your standard 4-way tag match, is a clusterfuck. Just everyone trading spots, everyone at one point is trading signature moves, and it gets to the end where they're starting to trade finishers back and forth. You see PCO hit his fucking dive onto the apron. Oh, God. Like, this is a 50-year-old man just... It's a fantastic spot. Not gonna lie. It looks gorgeous. Ew, it's like, if that lands wrong one way or the other, you know, you could break someone's neck or PCO could break himself in half. It's just one of those spots I kind of wish you would retire that, you know? At some point, you're pushing your luck, buddy. The Gorillas of Destiny pick up the victory with a super power bomb. And you see the call here from Kevin Kelly, as your English commentary. He's like, if they hit this, that'll be the 3 count. And they hit it, and that's the 3 count. Way to suck any fucking emotion out of that spot. And it's a beautiful spot. Like, the super powerbomb from the Tongas is a beautiful move. It looks really impressive. Just Kelly Klein kills any sort of chance, any sort of momentum that the other guys will get up. Because there was a spot where they almost... Evil Sonata tried to hit the Magic Killer. And Kelly, it was sort of like the same sort of spot, you know. They inherited this move from the Good Brothers in Japan, and if they hit this, and he like repeats the same fucking call for the super power bomb from the Gorillas of Destiny, inheriting this move from their fathers or whatever. And then just so nonchalantly, so deadpanly calls the finish. And I'm legitimately on this. If they hit this, it'll be over. They've hit it, and it's over. It's like, get some fucking emotion, buddy. Quit acting like you're reading from a script the entire time. Kevin Kelly is like one of those, like, it's really hard because he's got like such drastic peaks. Like, he's not offensive. He's not bad as a commentator. Most of the time he's pretty good, but most of this show he just felt very, very rehearsed. And this is to say nothing for the rest of the commentary table, which for the most part was terrible. Like, between they cycle commentators in and out as these bigger shows like to do. And between, I think like half a dozen people were at the table at some point over the course of the night. They might have contributed like 3 or 4 fucking lines of note to the rest of the match. And 2 of them were the fucking Irish guy translating for New Japan. Which, by the way, that Irish guy is fantastic. And he really needs to call more shit as like a mainstream broadcaster. He's really good. If you've not seen him when he called, oh god, what was the show? It might have been the Super Cup, the Super J Cup, I forget which. One of the recent like Ring of Honor shows, he called most of that as like the lead. He was really fucking good. So I'm hoping he gets more work done. But he was only here for the New Japan matches as sort of like a translator whenever there was an issue that needed clarifying, or, you know, something that he could add colloquially as someone who knows the language. And he was really good for, again, what brief times they use him. For the rest of the commentary, they were terrible. They might not as well have been there. It's bad. Colt Cabana should be ashamed of that performance for someone who broadcasts as a living through his podcast. Rant aside, I mean, the match was fine. It was cut short, and this, at the end of this match, this is where the controversy happens, because there's a couple of bits of news that makes it out of this show. And the biggest one is immediately after this match, there is some scuffle at ringside as you see people running. The cameras don't show it. They'll just try to keep it on the Tongas as they're celebrating, but you see at ringside as other wrestlers are running to this scuffle here at the front corner here. It cuts to the commentators who's like, well, you know, people try to do stuff and, you know, to get themselves over. We're not going to acknowledge it. And they cut to the video package. As it turns out, there was, and the decision to do this was split. Like, upper management for Ring of Honor had made this decision. We want this to happen tonight. The booking team for Ring of Honor didn't want to do it tonight. And New Japan flat out said no, apparently. I'm like misappropriating quotes that you've heard from Meltzer and from other places. So take all that with a grain of salt. But the gist of it is Enzo Amore and Big Cass jumped the ringside barrier to attack the Briscoes, and later Bully Ray, as he was one of the guys running to ringside to get involved into this scuffle that you could see for like the briefest of seconds before the cutaway. You didn't ever see the two, Enzo Amore and Big Cass, on camera, but you could see guys rushing to defeat them. As you get to like fan footage on Twitter, you can tell that this is a work. Like, it's not like they legitimately, you know, disregarded the rules and got tackled by 17 securities. There was like worked punches and all that. It's very clear that this was a planned segment. But they never acknowledged it on TV. And why would you want to associate with Big Cass and Enzo Amore of all fucking people? Like, I get that these are big names, and you can probably make a decent amount of short-term money off of these names, but you're associating yourselves with a dude who got fired for beating up an extra. He got fired for beating up an extra. This isn't like a grab the brass ring sort of moment, you know, where there's a jobber squash match that he went a little bit too rough on. No, this dude was there for a comedy skit, and Big Cass attacked him afterwards. Unprovoked. This isn't a wrestler. He just attacked the guy unprovoked to make a statement. Got fired for that bullshit. And Enzo Amore is a fucking asshole. Like, he's the guy no one in the company wanted to work with. He was, you know, always like there's the story where he brought some guys to the backstage locker room without telling anybody else, and these assholes were like fucking with the other wrestlers throughout the night. And then there's the story of him getting kicked off the bus by Roman Reigns, of all people, who is a nice, like, really chill, mellow sort of dude when he's not in character. And he kicked Enzo off the fucking tour bus. Like, they're big names. I get it. It's just, I don't know if the harm of associating your brand with these two names is gonna be worth it. And again, this is something that never made air. Their names weren't brought up. They weren't shown on camera. This stunt is strictly just like a Twitter stunt for, like, the really hardcore involved smart fans, which, if you listen to like their ratings numbers on Sinclair and shit, aren't most of the people watching your product. It's just, I don't get it. It'll be interesting to see how they play this going forwards, and whether or not Big Cass and Enzo can get sort of a redemption story out of this. Enzo in particular, there is, if he wasn't such a fucking prick, like, the dude has money potential behind him. I don't know. There's a lot of negative PR and a lot of bad will wrapped up into these two as a unit that you're going to have to do quite a bit of work to rehab, and framing this as them two going into business for themselves and jumping the guard road is a poor fucking way to start it. And you hear the fucking Tongas after the match talking about, in Twitter and in other interviews, that what a shit fucking decision that was. And you could just see ROH's fucking booking decided to have the former champions get jumped at ringside. It was a stupid decision. What you gonna do? Your fucking own, your new tag team champions, the Gorillas of Destiny. Because again, another unified match here. Have talked about what fucking trash the ROH titles are because it always has convoluted shit like this. This sort of obnoxious booking is behind it. Again, all fucking night. They've been pulling this stunt, starting with the Battle Royal, and then into the fucking Women of Honor thing. Just, I don't get it. Moving on from that disaster of a thing, we have Zack Sabre Jr. and Hiroshi Tanahashi for the Rev Pro British Heavyweight Championship. And the two of them just have a clinic. And this shouldn't surprise anybody. They're phenomenal wrestlers. The ending was one of those you just sort of figured. I mean, Zack just got the title off a Foreigner a couple of months ago at Wrestle Kingdom. You didn't think he was probably going to immediately drop it back to another one. So going into that, you kind of figured that this is mostly a foregone conclusion. It's just a matter of how they were going to do it. Because Zack brought to ringside, he brought Taku Michinoku. So we had the issue with Suzuki gun interference. That was always going to be a possibility. There was just going to be some straight up fucking shenanigans. And there were some shenanigans, but not as impactful as they've been previously. Zack hits the Zack driver, no longer the Michinoku driver, it's the Zack driver now. And then Tanahashi does the leg work. He hits the dragon screw a couple of times to really shut down Zack's offense, which I thought was a fantastic bit of story to tell. I just never got why the guy whose finisher is a frog splash, essentially. It's a splash off the top ropes. One of his signature moves is a leg corkscrew. He just spams repeatedly throughout the match. I never quite understood that, but he's very effective. Once he hits it, Zack sells it like his leg has been snapped, drops to the ground, and that's like the next 2 or 3 minutes of him trying to relearn to walk on one leg, basically. So, like, the two of them tell a fantastic story for as much time as they get. Is another one of those, like, you probably could have given these two more time, but it was a good match. The finish of it is a clean finish. Zack locks in his beautiful, beautiful looking submission. The Zack lock, and Tanahashi has to verbally tap out because when you're in this thing with your arms trapped backwards by the legs, there's not a whole lot you can do. And I do like how, as Tanahashi was initially trying to struggle out of the submission hold, Zack Sabre Jr. does the British wrestling thing, goes out and grabs his fingers and like snaps them backwards to fucking reapply more pressure to it. It looked painful, it looked beautiful, and Zack retains his championship. I don't follow enough of the other British wrestling promotions to know what his other options are. I feel like Zack is basically, you know, he's the final boss of the British wrestling scene at the moment. I don't know what else you can do with him on top. I don't know what they have in the pipe as far as challengers for him either, because the dude is phenomenal. He's on a next level. You can see him easily, like, headlining any of these other companies. So, it'd be interesting to see what they do with Zack going forwards. As far as Tanahashi, whatever they want, whatever he wants to do to steal money in Japan, so this loss doesn't hurt him in the slightest. But, I don't know. Well, we will find out. Going after that is probably match of the night. This is your New Japan Intercontinental Championship. As you have Kota Ibushi versus Tetsuya Naito. Damn, what a match. Like, I don't want to spoil a whole lot because the two of them just tear into each other for 20 minutes. Just straight up, it's what you would expect from an Ibushi and a Naito match. There's a lot of head games, there's a lot of mind games, as Naito is tranquilo, you know, he's trying to remain cool, calm, and collected, and Ibushi wants a fight. He wants a goddamn match, and for the opening part of the match, Naito isn't giving it to him, and it starts to get under Ibushi's skin. He gets more frustrated. You can see the look on his face as he gets more aggressive. And it gets to the point where this plays out through the rest of the match as slowly Ibushi gets more violent. He gets much more edgy. There's a lot more risks being taken. Naito hits the Destino after like 3 or 4 attempts on it, and when he finally hits it, he only gets a 2 count. It's not enough. And he's sitting there just frustrated and wide-eyed. When he tries for a second time, he gets caught up, he gets hit with a kick, and immediately into the Kamagoya, and that is it. That beautiful fucking knee strike. And Ibushi beats Naito. It is now your Intercontinental Champion. holy shit. Like, I don't want to spoil too much of this match. Like, I've sort of rushed through a review of it here. It's a good match. It is match of the night, as I'm wont to do. I want to at least save some of the magic, and you should really watch this one. If nothing else on the rest of this show, watch this match. It is so fucking good. And Ibushi, now that he's signed a contract with New Japan, hopefully they're doing something with him. Hopefully this is the start of a long and beautiful fucking reign that, like, transcends him up to world title shots. Because if you could book Ibushi versus Okada, I would lose my goddamn mind. That would be a stunning fucking match. Or Ibushi versus Tanahashi would be a stunning match, and I would lose my goddamn mind. Ibushi is so fucking good. And there's a million things that they can do with this dude, and I look forward to seeing what they're planning going forwards. As far as what they do with Naito, I don't know. Like, doesn't usually... He's starting to get, like, you know, Gato syndrome here, where... not Gato, Goto. He's starting to get Hiroshi Goto thing going on, where he doesn't win the big one. You're starting to, like, pigeonhole this dude, and I don't know where you go from here. Now that hopefully Ibushi stays champion, do you take Naito up, or do you have him languish with his group down in the tag division for a little while, in the Never division potentially? I don't know. I really don't know what they do with Naito, and it'll be hard to figure out what direction you go to. With this character, you can basically send him in any direction. Like, it's not like he'll be hurt by going to a different division. I'm just curious as to what direction that's going to be. After this, we get to your Ring of Honor main event. This is the triple threat ladder match. You've got Jay Lethal defending against Matt Taven and Marty Scurll. And Scurll is someone you figure is out the door the second his contract is up. All his friends are elite, being the Elite Boys. All of them are in All Elite Wrestling. You kind of figure he's out the door the second his contract is up. So it's one of those things, like, he's probably not going to win tonight, as much as I or the crowd there would love to see. Like, the biggest pop of the night for the Ring of Honor side of the crew was Marty's entrance. You just hear 20,000 fucking fans going, woo, woo. It was great. It was a fantastic moment. It's good for Marty. And I just like him. You know, he's something about, like, this little fucking short British heel, essentially. Like, he still wrestles like a heel, but the crowd is just taken to him like nothing else. It is a really good thing to watch. Matt Taven is about as interesting as wet toast, essentially. I don't get Taven. The whole Kingdom thing, I don't get either. It's like this conspiracy to hold him down and whatnot. He's a fine wrestler. He's a fine, like, mid-card guy. I just don't get why he's constantly been in the main event of Ring of Honor. And Jay Lethal as a champion, it seems like he's been champion essentially forever, and I wouldn't be upset if he stayed champion essentially forever. Like, he's a really good champion. He has good matches with just about anybody they put him up against. It's one of those where if you don't have, like, a fucking superstar class guy to carry your company, and Ring of Honor at the moment doesn't. Like, they don't have, like, an Okada, an Omega, you know, an AJ Styles, Seth Rollins. You don't have, like, this super crazily popular over talent. Jay Lethal's at that next level. He's just, like, a rung down from it, you know, like your Randy Orton levels of, you know, he's over enough to where it's not a problem leaving him there. So, take that for what it's worth. The match itself was long. I say that as, you know, a main event is supposed to be long, but it went too long, I guess. As the triple threat ladder match, there was a lot of spots. There was a lot of setting up for spots. And then once these spots were done, they were essentially no-sold, and they just continued on with the match. There was more than one point to where someone gets sent through a ladder and is immediately back up like a minute or two later. Sell the goddamn moves. Like, I'm not asking for a lot, but just pretend it hurts for more than 30 seconds. I don't know. It's, you know, minor details, minor bit of nitpicking, essentially. And then two of them, once you got to the second half of the match, once you got to the finish of the match, that's when they started to really tell the story of Marty. Just fighting for his goddamn life to prove that he means something. He gets towards the finish of the match, there's a spot where they're both Marty's up on the ladder, and Taven starts to follow up, and Taven, being the taller of the two, significantly taller, reaches up ahead of Marty from a rung lower. Like, Marty is on the 3rd rung, and Taven's on the 4th. But because of such a drastic height distance, he's reaching up to him, and he's like, got his fingertips on the title, and then that's when Marty grabs the hands of Taven and does the finger snap thing. It's the only time I've ever saw this thought, like, this is fucking brilliant. Like, you can't pull down the title if your fingers are broken. And so Taven's like, ah, shit, he reaches up with the other hand, and Marty breaks those hands, too. So what Taven does here is he elbows Marty off the ladder, you know, and then he loses his balance, and he tries to, like, pantomime at grabbing the ladder, but he can't because his hands are hurt. So he falls off to the side of it. That's a brilliant set. And Taven, to his credit, once he's on the ground, pantomime's like trying to reset his fingers back into place. I thought, if you're going to do that spot, this is the perfect fucking way to do it. I thought that was amazing. Getting to the finish, Taven, later in the match, a few minutes later after that crazy segment, Taven pulls out the really tall ladder. They've been working with, you know, the 12-footers, or no, like, they've been working with the 8-footers for most of the match. And then Taven pulls out the 12-footer. It's purple. It's a purple ladder. He sets that in the middle of the ring. Marty fights him off for a little while. Uses the umbrella even to, like, beat the shit out of him. He sets one ladder on the ropes and into the rungs of the ladder. So it does one of those things where you have the main ladder in the middle, and then these 2 ladders on either end of it as, like, platforms. And the idea is they're so sort of worn down. Marty's legs have been worked over, so climbing the ladder hurts for him. So he jumps on top of the platform as a bit to skip a little bit of the climbing. Clever gimmick. Jay Lethal hops up onto the other side, and they starts to climb up to the top. Taven knocks Lethal from off the higher platform of the ladder. Marty falls out of the ring, and Taven takes his place. As they get up there, it gets to the point where Taven hits this, like, beautiful fucking finish. I say finish, he's just like this painful looking brutal strike. Knocks Lethal onto the ground, hits the platform, ladder falls out from under him, and Taven reaches up undeterred as he grabs and pulls down the championship. Your new Ring of Honor heavyweight champion is Matt fucking Taven. Kill me. Like, I mean, this is a long show. This is like 3.5 hours to this point, you know, almost 4 hours, 4.5 hours if you include the pre-show. And it's Matt Taven. Again, nothing against Matt Taven, but you are talking ranks of talent here. Taven is like middle to lower card. He's the epitome of a mid-card guy, mid-card personality. He's boring as fuck. He just straight is. He's an okay wrestler, but even then, when you've got fucking Jay Lethal, which is a good to amazing wrestler on the right day, and a good to amazing promo, again, on the right day, I mean, most of the time he's just decent. Taven has never delivered to the point of Lethal, where it's just odd to me. Like, Taven on his best day can barely compete with Lethal on an average day. And why would you make this man your champion? I don't understand it. And he's been in the main event for practically forever. Like, they've been trying to push Taven in his kingdom for months now, and I don't get it. Move on. Like, if you want a new champion, you can't rely on Jay Lethal forever. I understand that. Build up somebody. Fucking give it to PCO for a little while. So you could have given it to Marty for a month while his contract was left. Taven, on your biggest fucking show of the year, in front of 20,000 people, Madison Square Garden, you give it to fucking Taven. Why? I don't get it. I don't like this dude. Stop it, please. But luckily, that's not the last thing. That's not this last sour taste in your mouth. On the finals of the show, the last match on the card is Kazuchika Okada versus Jay White for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. And I predicted going into this match how this would go. I predicted Okada would open up console commands and toggle God mode. it didn't quite happen like that. Jay White does most of the offense in this match, and Okada is really struggling to find an edge for most of the early part of this match. Being an Okada match, this goes fairly long. As your main event is a New Japan main event, now that New Japan is set to rescue this card, it was a long main event, as you would figure, but it was really, really good. Jay White has surprised me at every single turn that he's had as his brief time in the spotlight. And Okada, clearly, with, you know, his reigns as champion, you know this dude is money. Straight up fucking money. It's not just the Rainmaker for nothing. This dude can deliver. So, combine this with Jay White, who has been on a meteoric rise with his talent and his potential. The two of them have a stunning match where Jay White does most of the offense. Like, it's very hard to kind of comprehend, particularly when Okada was delivering all of his amazing and stunning matches against, you know, Tanahashi, against Naito, against Omega. Okada was doing most of the offense as, like, you know, your defending champion, as you're almost like a heel figure towards the end of his reign, where people's like, we want someone else, we want to see who topples this dude. Okada was doing the bulk of the work to get these matches to that level, and in this case, Jay White's doing most of the work. It was very interesting dynamic to watch. And again, it's one of those, I don't want to spoil a whole lot of it to ruin the magic of this match, because it was a fantastic match. There is an issue where Gato gets involved very briefly. He distracts the referee that allows Jay White to sort of try and set up for a switchblade. His finisher is it the switchblade? His finisher? The Sister Abigail looking clone thing? And it doesn't work. Okada kicks out. And it gets to the point where Jay White, rather, is pulling out all of the stops to try and put Okada down, and it's not working. And as the match goes further and further, you really see why Okada is fucking on a next level, because he's not staying down. He gets up. He gets up. He gets up again, and they do the fighting spirit thing where the two of them 25 minutes into the match, almost 30 minutes into the match, where they do the fighting spirit thing. They're sitting there trading blows back and forth, and as they start to rise to their feet, and Jay White is fading fast, and Okada to the point where, like, Jay White just like barely like lamp him, and Okada just almost has pity on the guy. He's like, please stop. Just end this. And Okada ends it, jumping, spinning tombstone. One Rainmaker, picks him up. Second fucking Rainmaker, picks him up again. 3 fucking Rainmakers. And Okada is once again your IWGP champion. Holy shit. Like, Okada in general has like the best final 5 minutes in all of wrestling. No one can end a match like Okada. Literally no one in the entire industry has a better ending sequence than Okada. Every single time, and you see it again in this match, where you get so fucking good at getting your hopes up. You see the false finishes, you see the hope, and in this case, you see like the sheer, utter fucking devastation that is Okada when he goes God mode. And it was fantastic. It was brilliant. Where do you go from here? What does this mean for Jay White? What does this mean for Gato, who forsaked Okada to push Jay White and his idea of Bullet Club? I don't know what you do at this point. What do you do with Okada, first off, as your champion? Dominion is coming up. That is the next big New Japan thing. What do you do at Osaka? Then you have the G1 to see who fights the winner of that at the Tokyo Dome. New Japan's kind of in this weird state where there's a lot of players at this next level, because Naito is still there. You know, Tanahashi is still there. Obviously, Jay White is still there at that level. Which direction are you going to go with, you know? And that doesn't rule out other guys who are still floating around who haven't done a whole lot recently, but you could. In theory, Ishii is still available. Goto is still available. I don't know. Like, that'll be very interesting to see what the Okada thing does. What do you do with Jay White? Does he go back as to the Bullet Club where he's, you know, basically just going to destroy people? Like, is he going to go on a tear after this and just, like, take over by force, essentially? That's what I would do. I would have him in his rage, him and Gato, sorry. Just two of them take over by force. And if they can't have the title, they will tear down the goddamn company, essentially. But I don't know. You never know with New Japan because their booking is so fantastic. It's so amazing to watch it play out. It'll be great to see where it goes from here. And this is where you get to why this is such an odd show overall. You have Naito and Ibushi and Okada, Jay White as your anchoring segments for New Japan, which are stunning matches. Stunning. You know, Naito and Ibushi, match of the night for me personally, but Okada and Jay White is like right underneath it. Like, they are so fucking good. And then you compare it to Kelly Klein, Mio Iwata. Like, and the ladder match is fine. It was a decent ladder match, but it went a bit long, and it didn't compare to either of these other two matches. And then if you take away all of the other, like, multi-tag matches, or the multi-brand matches, you go down, you have to get to the fucking Flip Gordon and Bully Ray thing, which is a nice little spot fest, but it didn't mean a whole lot. You get to the fucking tag team thing, which had that stupid run-in at the end of it, and you get to the women's thing, which had the fucking run-in at the end of it, and you get to the New Japan fucking Rumble, or the Ring of Honor Rumble, rather, which had the fucking screwjob finish. ROH is a big fucking problem with its booking. They've copied Dusty Rhodes' playbook, and they've decided, let's literally do this for everything. I don't like it, essentially. Just let there be some cleaner and some simpler booking. Look at the New Japan side of things. You know, the three-way tag match was a clean, decisive fucking thing. The Rev Pro thing with Zack and Tanahashi was a clean, decisive thing. Naito and Ibushi was a clean, decisive thing. Fucking Jay White and Okada, despite the interference with Gato, was still a clean, decisive thing. You don't need all this other fucking bullshit and shenanigans to tell a story. You see the same thing at fucking NXT TakeOver the night before. None of those matches needed any of that other crap to tell a story. Again, it's not that it was bad. Like, I enjoyed the show, and I still enjoyed most of the Ring of Honor things. It's just all of the other miscellaneous stuff around it that just really leaves a poor aftertaste to what was otherwise a really good show. And to see where this goes to from here, and whether or not they do another one next year, because I wouldn't doubt these guys got a sellout, so I wouldn't put it past Madison Square Garden to do another one next year. Ring of Honor is going to have to fucking step up its game if it wants to stay partnered with New Japan, because the gulf of difference between the two of these, the levels that these two companies are fighting on, is like night and day difference here. And Ring of Honor is not fucking carrying its weight. Just straight up, it's not. But it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here, because there's a lot of different threads and a lot of potential in what's been done. And the talent is obviously there. Like, it's not like there isn't like a solid core of wrestlers in Ring of Honor that couldn't drag it out from underneath where it's at, because they've got talent. But they've always had talent. Some of the best names in all of wrestling have come through Ring of Honor. It's what you do with it that matters. And at the moment, they don't know what to do with it. And it seems like NXT and New Japan, and even WWE, which is shocking as it is, seem to have figured out, at least momentarily, what to do with their good talent. So, that's my 2 cents. This has been the Sorely Wrestling Review, and that's been the G1 Supercard. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.